Today, I will be discussing emergency fund, and I want you to drop a comment now for us below on what your last emergency was and how you covered up for it. I will be in the comments. Having an emergency fund in place is a strong indicator that you are financially healthy. Therefore, it is important that you have one or you build one. Recent study has shown that 57% of Americans cannot settle a $1,000 emergency. 16% of Brits depends on debt in times of emergencies, while over 60% of Africans go into debt to settle an emergency. But do not worry, whether you have an emergency fund or you do not have one, or you are in the process of building up one, this video is for you. In this video, I will be sharing with you in ascending order 6 step-by-step processes on how you can save up for your emergency fund faster without stressing yourself out. If you're joining us here for the first time, welcome. I am Chinyere, a qualified accountant in Nigeria with over 3 years practical experiences in the field of personal finance, business, and human capital development. First thing first, what is an emergency and what is an emergency fund? An emergency is an unforeseen situation that requires your immediate attention, while an emergency fund is the amount you set aside strictly for settling those unforeseen situations when they occur. Emergencies require immediate attention because things could go worse if they are left unattended. Some general examples of emergencies include sudden illness or injury, car repairs, home repairs, job loss, impromptu legal issues, funeral expenses, and so on. From my experiences, here are the 6 best steps you should follow to save up for your emergency fund fast. The first step is knowing how much you need to save. Before you start saving up for emergencies, you need to know how much you are aiming at saving. You need to set a clear savings goal for your emergency fund if you want to achieve it faster. It is recommended that you save up 3 to 6 months of your living expenses as your emergency fund. In other words, your emergency fund account should always contain an amount capable of settling at least 6 months of your living expenses, or at worst, 3 months of your living expenses. To get what the sum will be, you need to calculate how much you spend monthly to settle your basic needs if you're single, or the basic needs of your household if you're married. I must emphasize that you take note of the word basic needs at this point. Not everything you spend your money on monthly is a basic need. Your basic needs are those items that are needed in your day-to-day life. They are essential for your survival. Major examples of basic needs include food, water, shelter, healthcare, and transportation. Now, once you've gotten the amount you spend monthly on these basic needs, the next thing you need to do is to multiply that amount by 3 or 6 months to get what you need to save as your emergency fund. For example, if my household spends $1,000 monthly in settling our basic needs, it simply means that my emergency fund target should be between $6,000 at least, or $3,000 in the worst case scenario. If I spend $10,000 monthly on my basic needs, then my emergency fund target would be, you guessed right, between $30,000 to $60,000 based on the recommended 3 to 6 months range. Now, I want you to pause this video and take some minutes to calculate how much you spend monthly on your basic needs to determine what your emergency fund target would be. It doesn't just stop at you discovering how much you need to save for your emergency fund. You also need to set a time frame for saving up that amount of money. Otherwise, you will take long time or take forever to save up that amount of money. And when emergency comes knocking, you will find it difficult to cover up for that emergency. If my emergency fund target is, let's say, $6,000, then I can set a time limit of 6 months within which I should have saved up that amount of money. So as you try to figure out what your emergency fund target will be, don't leave out the time limit within which you intend to save up this amount of money, be it in 2 months, 4 months, or 6 months time. Once you figure out this first step, the next step is to break down your emergency fund target into smaller goals. In the first step, my emergency fund target was $6,000, which I intend to save up in 6 months' time. If I break this long-term target into smaller goals, it therefore means that I have to either save $33 every day, or $233 every week, or $933 monthly, whichever is convenient for me based on my income structure. Breaking your emergency fund target into smaller goals like this prevents it from being ambiguous. It makes your goals smart. That is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. And a SMART goal is an achievable goal. Now, I want you to implement this step 2 into the figure you calculated in step 1. Once you've determined how much you need to set aside daily, weekly, or monthly for your emergency fund, the next step is, where do you keep the fund? The best place to keep your emergency fund is in the bank, and preferably an online bank. And I'll tell you why shortly. Some finance experts will suggest that you reserve 20% of your emergency fund as cash. But I believe, based on experience, that cash is very fragile and can easily be diverted to other non-relevant items. So I would advise you open a separate account in the bank strictly for your emergency fund and deposit every amount you have for your emergency inside this emergency fund account. This account should be easily accessible, and not just easily accessible, it should also remit a high interest for your savings to cover up for the inflation that could occur between the period of savings and the period the emergency occurs. Why I recommend online banks is because online banks gives high interest for your savings, and this is chiefly due to the fact that online banks do not incur those huge overhead costs that traditional banks incur. I must also add that these online banks' interest rate fluctuates in line with economic changes, so it is important for you to make your research before deciding on which bank to open an account with and save up your emergency fund. Just ensure that whichever bank you decide to open an emergency fund account with gives you a high interest rate for your savings, capable of covering up for the inflation rate within the period until an emergency happens. This brings us to the 4th step, which is to prioritize the amount you got in step 2. There are various ways through which you can prioritize your emergency fund targets. Number 1, you can put it at the top of your budget. That is, as the number 1 item in your daily or monthly budget. So you settle for your emergency fund first before looking at other critical areas. 2, you can set a reminder in your mobile phone or in your calendar, or even in both, so you can always remember to set aside a particular percentage of your monthly income for your emergency fund. 3, you can automate the deduction of that amount straight from your deposit or checking account into your emergency fund account. 4, you can set a standing order with your bank to always subtract this emergency fund amount at a constant specific time from your checking account into your emergency fund account. And there are other ways which you can prioritize this amount to ensure that you save up for your emergency fund consistently. The 5th step is to try extra options. By extra options, I mean looking for other ways you can boost your income and contribute more to your emergency fund account. Some extra options include side hustles, selling unneeded items in your house, saving windfalls, working overtime, scrapping out unnecessary subscriptions, getting a new job, cutting back on outside meals, asking for a pay rise, move to a lesser maintenance home, or even reducing your pet size, and so on. Opening up extra money sources will assist you in saving up for your emergency fund faster and easier. This takes us to step number 6, which is financial discipline. Financial discipline means being in control of your finances, your expenditure, your earnings, your savings, and your investment. It means working with a budget, sticking to your budget, avoiding impulsive purchases, consistency in your savings, dedication to achieving your goals, and living according to your means. All the 5 steps mentioned above will not be feasible if you do not have financial discipline, good financial habits, and commitment towards your savings goal. Financial discipline catapults you towards the path of financial freedom and financial stability. Hope you got something valuable from this video. If you do, drop a comment for us below. To enable this video get to more people who will find it helpful, the little you can do is to like this video, hit that subscribe button, and share this video to friends and families who needs the value packed in this video. You want to know how I save up $6,000 in 6 months? Check out this video right here. Thank you for watching. Stay connected. See you here next week. Don't forget to subscribe.